I have finally watched Challengers. I originally skipped on it because I wasn't too turned on, pun intended, by a Zendaya throuple movie, but after hearing that it was more about tennis and toxic relationships, I made it a priority to go out and actually see it. And I have a confession to make. Judging how the internet is responding to this one, I am going to get scorched like a steak.
We usually have different types.
So you're saying I should be flattered?
Aren't you everybody's type?
Challengers follows the story of 3 dickhead college-age tennis players engaged in an on-again, off-again 3-way love triangle. To complicate things even further, it is also told out of chronological order, spanning 13 years of these people's miserable lives. I have to say, the narrative itself is addictive in its substance, and is perfectly symbolized with the game of tennis, a brutal back and forth built on a relationship between players before one falters and loses the game. It's a great showcase of manipulation and toxic relationships, even if it has a less than gratifying conclusion.
Hey, I love you.
I know.
As for the cast, it's hard to really connect with any of them. I guess an argument can be made that some are more likable than others, but for the most part the film showcases their worst moments instead of any redeemable qualities. The acting and chemistry between the 2 male leads is quite electric, leaving Zendaya to just kind of walk around sulking angrily like she poses any actual threat or is intimidating in any way at all for the audience. Her demeanor in this film kind of falls flat. In the context of the narrative, the actions of the characters are great, but plop glare-eyed Zendaya in the mix, and in the real world, the 2 dudes would laugh at her unlovable personality behind her back. It's kind of ridiculous and increasingly frustrating the more the runtime clocks on.
It wasn't even like tennis, it was an entirely different game.
On a technical level, the film is gorgeous to look at. The tennis matches are captured so well and complement the character development scenes nicely. There are some shots where I audibly gasped on how amazing they were, and how the sound of the racket hitting the ball was chef's kiss. The only issues I have with it is the runtime and over-reliance on slow motion. Most of the time it's beautiful and effective, but one time in particular, it dropped to 5 frames a second and it looked awful, completely derailing a detrimental moment in the film's narrative. Same can be said about the score. Most of the time it's got this electric techno and it had me dancing in my seat. Other times, particularly in the more emotional moments, it sounded like it was done by the choir at Hogwarts, which took me out of the moment and just made me giggle. It's choices like this that scream, "Oh, look at me, look how artistic I am," but just come off more random and unconventional than actually creative. Challengers is an interesting and sexy philosophical deconstruction of character, but it is way too long and self-indulgent for me to actually recommend you watch it in theaters. Thank you for stopping by and checking out the video. Here at Get to the Conclusion Reviews, my goal is to provide a quick but thorough critique of a film's narrative, performative, and technical aspects, giving you the best information in the most digestible format. If that is something that interests you, a like and a subscription would be greatly appreciated. But what about you? What are your thoughts on the movie? Let me know in the comments below. I'd love to read what you have to say.